ESPN welcomes you to Troy, Ohio, Kenworthy Motocross Park as we get set for round 7 of the AMA 250cc Outdoor Motocross Series.
Hello, everyone. I'm John Kernan, along with former motocross champion David Bailey. And David, we kick off the second half of the season today, and it looks like the points battle is coming down to just 2 riders.
That's right. Jeff Emig and Jeremy McGrath are very close in the points. It's pretty much just between those two. And I got to tell you, I'm very impressed with Jeff Emig. But Jeremy McGrath is winning those motos, and just when he needs them, he's riding smart. That's how you win championships.
Well, Troy is pretty much like a supercross track, so I guess Jeremy has to be the odds-on favorite today.
Oh, I think so. But although this was his first 250 outdoor moto win last year, Jeff Emig is also a pretty good supercross rider. And other riders that do well indoors, I think, would be riders like Damon Bradshaw, who I think has got to start showing some of that speed again, and also Larry Ward, who did really good here last year.
Well, once again, it is very hot here at Troy. We're getting set for the start of Moto number 1, but first, let's take a look at the track.
Well, it's a long track like last weekend at Redbud, and see all those lines across the racetrack? Those are jumps, doubles, triples, jumps, all shapes and sizes, and that's good for McGrath.
And you said a lot of airtime. They're going to need a lot of airtime to kind of cool off. For more on the heat wave, let's check in with Art.
Guys, Mother Nature has not been kind to the Midwest this weekend alone. 30 deaths have been attributed to the heat and humidity. And with a temperature at 95 degrees at race time and humidity near 100%, extra precautions had to be taken.
Our concern is dehydration. I told the guys at the riders meeting they knew they need to consume a lot of fluids, and we're at this point planning to run the motos at full length. One consideration would be to lengthen the intermission between the 2 sets of motos. A longer break would give the guys a chance to get more fluids back in their body. But then the weather becomes a factor. There's thunder showers going to move in this afternoon, and I just feel if I lengthen the break, more than likely the thunder showers are going to move in on me.
I'm not 100% sure. It's really wet out there at the moment, and so I think I'm going to stick with the soft compound for the beginning, So
it's muddy now, so they're going to be using a mud tire, which is spaced out farther for cleaning out purposes, so they can get the rubber on the ground down into the hard pack. As it dries out and the first moto starts, they'll be switching over to a closer pattern tire for the drier surfaces. And then, if it starts to rain again, like it may, they're going to go back to the mud tire, the spaced out tire, and it's just going to create havoc again.
Lots of guessing games today for both the AMA and the Cruise.
Thank you very much, Art. There you get a look at some of the guys getting cooled down. It's very important that you have a lot of strength today, isn't it, David?
Yeah, it is. You see John Dowd right there. He's got some water handy, and it's kind of odd to see all 3 of these guys,
sitting
competitors.
together.
Yeah, they're sitting together. I doubt they're sharing a whole lot of information.
It's more like, what are you going to do today after this? I'm going to the pool, and I'm going to chill out for a while, right? And there you get a good look at Jeremy McGrath, the current points leader, on his way to his first outdoor title. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and John Kernan welcome you back to Kenworthy Motocross Park, Troy, Ohio, getting set for the start of number 1 as far as motos go. That's James Dobb dumping some water on him. There's Jeremy McGrath trying to stay cool under the umbrella. How difficult is it, David, when you've got this mixture of high heat and humidity?
It's tough, you know, and the riders that are from back east, a guy like John Dowd, for instance, would probably be a little more used to it. I know I was from being from Virginia. I'd get to the airport in Atlanta, and a lot of the riders would be, you know, going, man, I can't believe how hot it is here. And I'd always kind of play it up a little bit and go, oh, you should have been here, you know, last week. Even hotter.
So you do play some mind games out there on the line. And here's Damon Bradshaw, who's just back, and you got to wonder if how his shape is going to be for today.
Well, he keeps saying that he gets tired towards the end of the moto, and he's going to get tested today because here's a Supercross style track, but it's a little bit muddy because it's been raining a little bit on and off, which makes it even tougher. So,
well, there the signboard goes down, everybody waiting at the line, and you can see the mud right there on the start. The gate drops. Let's see who gets the hole shot. And there they go through the first turn. Jeremy McGrath looked like he was off to a pretty good start, but it was number 78, Jean-Sebastian Roy, who got the whole shot. And look at that.
James Dobb going down to the first turn. I couldn't identify the other rider, but Greg Albertyn off with a hole shot.
Well, Albertyn got around. I thought Roy had the hole shot. In fact, he might have been first through the first turn. And there you see him riding in the back. But Albertyn off to a great start, one of his better starts of the year. Of course, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. The first moto out of the box at Gainesville, he grabbed the whole shot and led almost the whole way before Larocco came back to beat him.
Well, maybe this is just what he needs to get back up there and ride like he did at Gainesville. And he seems to have a pretty good lead right now, and it's always nice to look back and see that you got a privateer right behind you. And right now his timing looks pretty good. Look at the way he's getting through these whoop sections. And
Todd DeHoop is riding along in the 3rd spot, but Albertyn, look at that. Oh man, there's just a mess. There's some hard pack out there too, it looks like, along the course.
Well, that's what makes it tough. Yeah, you see the mud just over off the main line. Here it's pretty dry all the way across, but in those sections where it's muddy, it gets dry in one line. So on the start, if you get 10th or 20th place start, man, you're just stuck there, and there's only one line to take.
What happens, though, if you miss the line? You get off that hard pack and hit that mud. Look at Jeremy. Jeremy now makes the move around Roy, and Jeremy is moved into 2nd place. Todd DeHoop comes through. And look, Damon Bradshaw also getting a top 5 start. He's off to a good start. But getting back to my question, you're going from some hard pack into the mud. I mean, you can dump it pretty easily here, can't you?
Sure. Well, the thing is that the hard pack stuff is still a little wet, and it's just like riding on grease. And you see right here, if you miss that berm, you get out into the muddy stuff, and it gets clogged up in your foot pegs and in the berms because there's ruts, and it's very slick. So you got to stay in the main ride. And main thing is the first lap or two, it's always an adjustment because they haven't seen the racetrack for a little while since practice in the morning, and things have changed quite a bit.
We see Jeremy coming on very strong. That jump, he jumped a little bit farther than Albertyn did. He's closing in the gap. McGrath, 5 moto victories out of 12 on the season so far, been extremely impressive. He holds a 13-point lead over Jeff Emig, and Emig, we haven't seen him. He must have gotten off to a terrible start.
Well, that's good news for McGrath because right now he's poised and ready to take on Greg Albertyn, and I'm glad to see Bradshaw up there. That's the kind of start he needs, and you know, he's been falling down in the first corner and having some problems, and I'd sure like to get him up there, but there you see some of that one-line situation all the way down this straightaway. If they were to go to the right there, it's just soup, so it makes it tough to pass in some areas.
There you get a good look at 3rd place. That's Jean-Sebastian Roy, a privateer. And, man, this young man's got to feel very good right now, off to a great start.
That's got to be good, but Larry Ward, Larocco right back there, DeHoop, these guys they're coming next. So I think for him to just try to be patient and just ride calm, not let the whole adrenaline of the situation of being up there watching McGrath and Albertyn do battle are starting to pull away a little bit from him, which would be expected. But this is a good ride so far for Roy.
Well, you look behind him in the 4th spot is Larry Ward, someone we haven't talked a whole lot about here on the outdoor season. Back up front, I'll get back to Larry in a minute, as it looks like we're going to have a battle for the lead. Look at Jeremy McGrath has closed right in on Greg Albertyn. And David, with all the airtime you spend here, the similarities to a Supercross track, we expected Jeremy to be the rider to beat. And there he goes trying on the outside, gets a little bite off there and squirts around Albie and into the lead. McGrath is out front.
Well, as they came through that jump, that whoop-de-doo section there, Albertyn came up a little short on the jump. His feet came off the pegs, and I'm sure that interrupted his rhythm. Then he blew the corner and just made it even easier for McGrath to get by.
Well, now that McGrath's out front, we'd expect him to start putting a little bit of distance on Albertyn. We're in the early stages of Moto #1. McGrath is your leader as you get a look at the top 10 on our Suzuki Field Summary. Back after this. Action a little further back in the pack, starting to heat up here at Kenworthy Motocross Park as you see Mike Kudrowski get around Todd DeHoop, trying to chase down his teammate Mike Larocco, and look at DeHoop come along and take that spot away.
That was a good move by DeHoop, and this inside line has been faster all day into the corner right here. If they can get through the corner and still clear that double, which he does fine, and Bradshaw is still right in this pack, and Larocco's still very close. Emig's right there, and
oh, look at that. Kudrowski dumps the bike coming around there. Bradshaw almost dumped. Oh, and look at DeHoop, a header, a flip over. He came over it too close to the tires. And, oh, man, look at he's limping. Remember, he had knee surgery earlier this year, and here's another look at it.
Well, we had just come out of off that off-camber corner. Looked like Emig had gotten around Bradshaw, and then both these guys are going to get around Kudrowski, who apparently just got a little too inside the berm, and the front wheel washed out on that inside lip, but he's up and going pretty quick. And then DeHoop, trying to change the direction of the bike in the air, cut it a little too tight right into a stack of tires, and it was a nice little flip. It didn't look like he got hurt, but he may have just jammed his knee into that stack of tires from the other side we couldn't see. So hopefully that's not too serious.
Well, remember, he did have surgery earlier this year. In fact, he missed Mount Morris, worked as a mechanic for his brother Chad. Now you're getting a good look at Larry Ward as he has gotten around Jean-Sebastian Roy, and this is a battle for third place. And back on, that's Larry Ward there. And we're talking about Larry. He finished second overall in the Supercross, but outdoors, David, he just hasn't had much luck. 14th at Redbud last time out.
Right. Well, you know, he just hasn't had this kind of series that we would have expected. And it's hard to say if he used up all his steam in the indoor series, and now he's just can't quite get things together. I know he's had some bike problems, and that never helps, but this is a track, like we said, it's kind of a Supercross where we expect Larry Ward to do better, and he's doing great. He's in third place right now, and he's still ahead of Larocco, who just got around Sebastian Roy while we're talking about Larry.
Well, Larocco riding along in fourth. Here's your leader, McGrath. And remember, before we went to break, I said look for him to put some distance on Albie. Well, he's done exactly that. And now Larry Ward comes back just about 2.5, 3 seconds behind in third place. And then there's Larocco. You got to expect Larocco is going to make a charge in the second half of this first moto. Well, Phil Lawrence, one of the top privateers on the circuit, is having a problem, we're told. Art Ekman has that story.
Number 42, Phil Lawrence, in the pits right now. As you can see, the clutch lever hanging loose. The bolt fell out as he went down, and he fell on his hand. This is very discouraging, as Phil has picked up checks throughout the season as being the top finishing privateer in the 250s. Big disappointing moment for Phil.
Well, you can see that again, Art. That's a heartbreaker there.
Well, he's shaking off his hand, too, so I can only assume that he maybe hit a fence post, a stack of tires like right there with his hand, or possibly fell and not only broke the lever, but I doubt if he broke his hand, but it didn't look like it felt too good.
Well, right now, Larocco is catching Larry Ward. This is the battle for third place. Ward's trying to hold him off. We talked about how the season has not gone outdoors for Ward like he would have liked. But look on that move, Larocco just trying to outpower him. They'll come over that small jump into the right-hander, and Larocco is right on his tail, and now is the time to put the pressure on him.
Well, I think so, but they're into some of the one-line sections. As you can see, there's only one good berm right there, and they come down these straightaways, and there's one good berm right here. Larocco's going to take a look up through the mud.
Well, he gets around Larry Ward. Larry off to a really good run today. Let's check into his pit.
Clint, despite the fact that he was just passed by Larocco here on the straightaway, this is the best performance yet for Larry Ward early.
Yeah, we've all been working really hard. The previous races, you know, things haven't gone right, but we've all been working really hard, and he's in good shape, so let's hope we can pull off a good overall.
Well, he's in a better position to finish better than 7th, which is his best finish so far.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. That's our best finish so far, but we're here to make it better again.
Currently, Ward sits 8th in the points, and on the Nolene Sizzler Yamaha. A little further back in the pack, Kudrowski, remember, he had fallen he is back up and on his way again. Of course, it was just a light fall, I guess you could say, but he's battling right now with Damon Bradshaw.
Well, remember, Bradshaw got by him when he was on the ground, so Kudrowski recouped pretty good and has gotten back around Damon, and he's still right in tow with Jeff Emig. So Kudrowski's obviously running the faster pace of these three riders.
Well, this is 5th, 6th, and 7th, and Jeff Emig, after getting off to not exactly a great start, is starting to make a charge as we near the second half of Moto number 1. McGrath is still your leader as you take a look at the top 10 on the Suzuki Field Submarine. ESPN Speed World welcomes you back to coverage of the AMA 250cc Outdoor Motocross Series, Kenworthy Motocross Park, Troy, Ohio. This is the battle for 5th place. Mike Kudrowski on the Kawasaki number 7, trying to chase down the Yamaha of Jeff Emig, and Emig not off to a great start, but he's worked his way into the top 5, and Art Ekman is in his pit.
Taking away from the chatter on the phone, Steve, what are they saying on those phones?
Oh, we were just taking some times of McGrath and Emig and just seeing what the difference was. And Jeff's back there in 5th or something. He still has a chance to catch up.
Well, it's a tough way to start, though, especially when you want to battle in the points to get out of the gate about 9th or 10th or 11th.
Yeah, he was 11th, and yeah, right now with McGrath up there in front, that's quite a few points. So, but we'll just have to keep going and see what happens.
I wonder what will happen.
Well, Emig has definitely got pressure from Kudrowski, but now he's got Larry Ward in his sights, so maybe he could put Larry Ward between him and get away clean.
Well, right now he's trying to get right on the rear wheel of Larry Ward, and he's doing a pretty good job of exerting some pressure. Both Yamahas, but you've got the Nolene Sizzler bike that Ward rides, and look at that drive by Emig on that jump. That's the way you get it done.
And look at Larry Ward. He's just trail riding. He just he took his arm off the handlebar, so he's got problems. He didn't even put up a challenge at all. He let both these guys by.
Kudrowski and Emig get by. That means that Emig has now taken over the 4th spot. Kudrowski has moved up to 5th, and Larry Ward has faded back. I saw him shaking that left hand. I wonder if he's starting to pump up, or if he did something to his wrist.
I saw that in the opening round at Gainesville, too, as he went around one of the back sections, and he was getting passed by one of the riders. He looked over like he didn't even bother him, just go ahead, and he shook his arm. So well, I don't know.
You see now Damon Bradshaw's gotten around Larry Ward, so Ward definitely something amiss with him as he is dropping back in the pack. But there you get a look at Emig, who's trying to make his charge toward the front. He is in a position now where he trails McGrath in the championship standings by 13 points. And Jeremy's out front right now, so Emig has a lot of catching up to do.
Right, I was just going to say, these are the two guys, Emig and McGrath, that are really the only ones in contention for the title. I mean, it's not mathematically impossible for anyone else to get in there, but it does seem to be between these two guys. And with Jeremy leading this race, you know, Emig, 13 points is not much, but as soon as that starts to grow in a moto like this, it becomes more of a panic for Emig, and he's got to get on the stick, because you can see right there, Albertyn is still pretty close to Jeremy.
Well, we're in the lapping process right now. Jeremy just getting by the 47 bike. That's Kevin Krein, another one of the independents who's had some pretty good runs this year. But Jeremy McGrath, not just good runs, folks. He's had some great runs. 12 motos this season. He has 5 victories, and it kind of makes you wonder what Jeremy is going to do next. He's always been a little bit on the wild side, and a little something different this weekend. Here's Art.
Jeremy, you like to be different as much as any guy I know. Another do for the occasion. Take your hat off. Show the fans.
Oh, well, you know, it's something new. It's red. Ride red, you know, something new. I don't know. It's something different. Trying to be different. I think people get tired of the same old stuff.
At least you do.
Well, I know I do. So why wouldn't they?
Great.
Hey, David, question for you. What would Brock Glover and the other guys said if you, like, showed up at the track and changed your hair color?
Well, they probably wouldn't have said anything. They just wanted to beat me that much more. I don't know. He apparently has way too much time on his hands. I didn't have time to worry about how I looked, and I guess maybe he's trying to be like Dennis Rodman or something and get things stirred up a little bit, but you know, I think maybe to try something different, maybe he should just take off last and see if he can still win. Everyone's getting tired of seeing him win every week, that's for sure.
Well, you know, I was going to say, he's kind of made things a little bit boring. As good as he's gotten on the outdoor series, he's just trying to make it exciting for the people.
Sure, and he is, you know, I mean, he has a different way of going about it, and you got to hand it to him, though. I mean, he's People didn't think he would do that well outdoors, and he proved last year he had the speed to get up there and run in the lead. He just didn't have the fitness, and this year he has the fitness as well, and he's leading the championship, and you can't take anything away. Kid's awesome.
No, yeah, awesome I think is a good term, and it's going to take an awesome amount of riding for this man on the #1, the Kawasaki, the defending champion Mike Larocco, to catch up. You can see Albertyn's running along in second place, and just a few moments ago you saw the separation. He has a long way to go if he's going to get toward the front to make a challenge.
Well, Larocco can do it. He's just the man for the job. Anytime it looks impossible, Larocco is, that's when he's strong.
Well, we're winding down in Moto #1. There's a look at the top 10 on our Suzuki Field Summary. Back with more after this. Jeff Emig trying to make his charge now, trying to pick up every position he can here at Kenworthy Motocross Park. And oh, look at that. Greg Albertyn loses it, and Larocco finally finds a way to catch him, get around and move into second place. But Emig has to pick up every position he can, David, just for points.
Well, that's good news because these guys just slowed up the pace quite a bit, and that's going to allow Emig to catch up somewhat and maybe have a little more inspiration seeing how close he is to him. And, you know, you can see that one-line situation there where as Albertyn dumped it in that corner, there was no room on the inside for Larocco to get by. He had already drifted too wide. He had to go over the berm and ride through all that mud. So both these guys lost a lot of time right there.
Albertyn, the 3-time world champion, 250 champions, championships, I should say, for the world in a 125, thrown in there for good measure. And look, just dumping it right there. Emig was way back, but he has caught up in a hurry. But I don't think anybody's going to catch this man. Jeremy McGrath, the true red-haired red rider for today.
Well, he's got a big lead right now, and he's just cruising. He's not riding a very fast pace at all, and that's the luxury you have when you get out to a good start and ride as aggressive as he does. You know, typically in the beginning of the race, he pulls out to a 15 or 20-second lead, and he can afford to ride around and cruise, and I don't think he has any threat from these guys. I mean, the battle these guys are having, as hot as it is, it's got to be very taxing, and for Jeremy right now, he's just conserving energy for the second moto.
Right now you see Jeff Emig is caught up to Albertyn. He's within striking distance, and look at Albie go to the outside. Emig sweeping around to take over that third spot and pick up a couple of more points.
And that's the same exact place Albertyn crashed the lap before, so he's having a lot of problems. They're just coming off of that plateau right there. It's a little slick when you land. If you don't time the landing just right, you kind of bounce off the top of that and you can't get into the berm. So he's having a lot of trouble with his timing right there.
Well, right now, Emig has moved around into third place. He'll set his sights on Larocco, but time is fast running out here at Kenworthy Motocross Park, Troy, Ohio. A great group of people out here. Had thunderstorms on Saturday, and man, it has been muddy today. But here's another look at Albie.
Now, just into that corner, a little bit too hot. Actually, what Emig does a lot of times, and we couldn't get a shot of it right there, but Emig on a corner like that, he'll sit down in the air and put his leg out and be ready for that berm, make sure he doesn't overshoot it, and that would have helped Albertyn right there.
Well, there you see Emig has now caught Larocco, but catching him is one thing, getting around him is another thing.
Well, it's tough in the sections like this right here where it is sort of one line, but you know, there's been some passing going on. Larocco's worked his way up, got around Larry Ward, a few other guys, and it's not impossible. So if Emig appears to be riding a little bit faster pace right here, but we'll have to see if he can make that move.
But this is the situation you've been talking about ever since Larocco came back and Bradshaw came back. They can play a part in the championship because right now he is separating Emig from Jeremy McGrath. And as we get ready for the final lap, let's see if Emig can get around. And look at that. Did Larocco move over and let him go, you think?
No, I don't think so at all. I think Emig just was determined to get around. He rode around that corner, carried more of his speed onto that straightaway, and just kind of rode through that deeper mud. And it's really tough to tell from this camera angle, but you're riding through that mud, fourth gear wide open, and it's like a rut. It's coming up, and it's almost want to drag your feet off the pegs, and he made it work.
Right now, this man, Jeremy McGrath, making everything work. Listen to the crowd, boy. They're loving it. About 12,000 people are on hand here. Temperature right around 100 degrees. It is miserable. Look at him cheering on Jeremy McGrath, who's on his way, if he doesn't dump it, going to win his 6th moto of the season out of 13. A very impressive record so far, and right about now he could almost walk it over. There's the checkered flag. McGrath has come away with the victory in moto number 1. Jeff Emig is second, followed by Mike Larocco in third, Greg Albertyn fourth, and Mike Kudrowski is fifth. And as you take a look at the rest of the top 10, a good run for John Dowd, and look at Roy finishing ninth. Art Ekman is caught up with the winner.
Obviously, the toughest thing in this heat and humidity is having to stop. What does it feel like to a rider? Are you pretty dizzy, Jeremy?
I'm pretty lightheaded right now. I think it's going to get worse. The more I try and cool off, the worse it's going to get. Try to stay strong and relax the whole race, and you know, that's what I try to do.
Well, it was a great race, but Emig's not letting you pull away.
No, he sure is, and I figured that much. I know he's going to be in there till the end.
Good luck in cooling off.
Thanks.
Well, Jeff Emig certainly hopes that Jeremy McGrath cools off. Jeremy picking up 3 points in this moto. Emig coming home second. He's with Art.
Right here in front of your fans, Jeff, and there's no question about you're a very popular rider, but what does it feel like inside physically after such an output of energy and liquid?
Well, I feel all right. You know, I just want to get my body temperature down as soon as possible. You know, I mean, I jacked up my start on the first moto, and that definitely ain't no good. You know, and it's a little bit hard to pass. I didn't think I would, I mean, you know, personally I didn't think that I would get those guys, but they seemed like they really fell off the pace, you know, and I was just kind of, you know, just kind of riding my pace, I guess.
Well, it helped Albertyn falling down. And then what about the pass on Larocco now? You knew you had to keep the pressure on Jeremy as far as the points.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, if you're not first, you need to be second, and you know, I was slow myself where I passed Larocco, and I decided just to go ahead, you know, I can hang it out, and it turned out well.
All right, you certainly pleased a few fans in back of you, Jeff. Nice ride.
Yeah, but he'd like to have a much better start, so he'll have an easier time chasing down Jeremy McGrath in Moto number 2, and that's what we're getting set for after this. Welcome back to Kenworthy Motocross Park, Troy, Ohio. We're getting set for the start of Moto number 2. And David, you can see the moisture on the umbrellas. They're not to protect you from the sun. It's raining right now.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough because it's hard packed out there. And this track isn't going to soak up this rain very well. It's just going to sit on the top and be really slimy and slippery, and it's tough to choose a tire. And I remember being in that situation. You don't know what you're going to use, and the final decision is up to the rider. Sometimes you just go and look at what everyone else is doing and just copy them.
Well, you saw Jeff Emig there. He's got the guards in front to keep the mud off of his clutch lever and front brake lever, and there they go off Emig on the outside. Let's see who comes through with a whole shot. Well, who else? Look at Jeremy McGrath right on the inside. It looks like Jeremy is going to come out in front. Everybody tiptoeing through the first turn. Looks like no problems. The field now spreading out, but McGrath is out front, and look at that. Albertyn is off with another good start.
Looks like number 62, I think that's Mike Jones, and also Emig got a pretty good start. He went into the first corner, played it smart. Everyone drifted wide, and he came out. Looks like he's running 4th or 5th right there.
You mentioned Mike Jones. He's another one of the privateers out of Export, Pennsylvania. And look at that, riding along in 3rd place right now. And in 4th place, you've got John Dowd. Jeff Emig is in 5th. And I don't know, did you see Larocco in that mess anywhere?
I didn't see him. I think he's up in there. He may have gone to the outside in that corner just off of our picture. I can't imagine him being much further back than that. If he is, that's going to be horrible.
Well, look at John Dowd now as he tries to make the move around Albertyn, and he makes it work for the moment to take over the 2nd spot. But Jeremy is starting to put a little distance on the rest of these guys. Look at that 3-way battle back there for 3rd place.
Right. I think of all these guys right now, you can see how slippery it is. Almost a slow race. They can barely get over these doubles. You see where it's real shiny right there? Yeah. See, that's how slick Albertyn gets sideways. All that shiny stuff is like riding on ice. So you got to clear a double jump, and you just get wheel spin the whole way. You got to make sure the bike's pointed perfectly straight. And the guy of all these guys running up front that I think is probably the most comfortable in this situation is John Dowd.
Yeah, he's a mudder. You were a mudder too, weren't you? What's the difference? What makes one guy good in the mud?
Well, you just have to want to do good in the mud. I mean, a lot of times guys just don't like it, and I just kind of forced myself to like it and sort of pretended like I liked it.
Oh, look at John Dowd. He's liking it a lot right now as he gets around Jeremy McGrath and takes over the lead. So you didn't like it, but you made the other guys think you liked it? So
yeah, I would just pretend. It was just a bluff, really. And
look at Jeremy McGrath goes down, and Emig runs over, almost running over his rear tire. McGrath losing what, 4 or 5 spots, just dropping the bike right there.
You can see the rain coming down. That was just one of those slick spots. I was just getting ready to say, look how they've got to stay in the berm right there and use that cushion, all that loose dirt that gets pushed off to the side. That's where you want to ride, and Jeremy was just in that slick rut right there, and let it get away from him. I mean, he's one of the best riders in the world and drops it, so you can see how tough it is.
Well, one good thing about the rain, well, there we see, isn't that Larocco coming through right there? I can't get the number plate, but yeah, that's Larocco. He is starting to make a move toward the front. One good thing about the rain, it's been so hot here. This is going to cool it off a little bit, but if the rain moves out, and oh, look at Albertyn almost get into Jeff Emig. They are just sliding around. Man, but what the rain's going to do if the sun comes back out, it's going to make it even worse because the temperature is going to come up. It's going to be even more humid than it was before. But John Dowd enjoying things right now as he is out in front. Jeff Emig moves into the second spot. So we talk about valuable points. We saw McGrath go down. Emig has now a couple of spots on him, so he has a chance to cut into that points lead, which after Moto number 1 had ballooned up to 16 points.
Right. Well, if Emig can get to the lead right here, his teammates in the lead, possibly Yamaha would. It's possible they could make that a little easier for him to get around. There's Jeff DeMint, tore the fender off his bike. And I think Yamaha could make that a little easier for Emig to move into the lead with John Dowd being up there at the moment. And that would be valuable points on Jeremy and really force Jeremy to push himself on a kind of a track where if you push yourself, you're probably going to end up on the ground. You got to ride really careful in these situations.
Well, McGrath is falling back. He's out of the top 5. Let's check into his pits with Art Ekman.
Well, Skip, after going down on a track like this, it's mighty tough to catch up because it's so slick right now.
Yeah, it is. It's real slick. Right now he's behind Larocco, and he seems to be a little bit more aggressive. He's riding a little cautious maybe that first lap. Like I say, we got a long moto left to go, and Emig is in second. Hopefully it will stay there. We can catch up to him. If not, we're going to lose some points this moto.
Did you make any basic changes, or did you have time to when the rains came?
No, we didn't change a thing. He was real happy with the bike the first time. It was soft the first moto, so we decided we were going to leave it. No changes. Made one small adjustment on the shock. Planning on it hardening up a little bit, but it didn't do that, so we'll find out how that works.
Well, right now, he better hope it works good because, and to tell you the truth, if I was Jeremy, I don't know if I'd have changed a whole lot after the first moto. Maybe tires, you see how slick it is right there. No tire's going to hook up good there, but some better than others. And he said he made an adjustment to the shock. Now, I don't know if they changed the shock that much, possibly in anticipation of the mud sticking to the bike and weighing it down. They just put a little more preload on the shock spring so it didn't sag.
Take a look at the Honda field summary. Back with more after this. Back at Troy, Ohio, Art Ekman down in the pits. David Bailey, John Kernan up here in the booth. Things are kind of, I don't know, slowed down a little bit, kind of stretched out as these guys are trying to figure out this very muddy track.
Well, one of the sections I think has got to be really tricky. Look at that.
Oh, look at Albie. Remember in the first moto, I think it was on one of these sections here, he brought it up short and cased it, and it looks like he did the same thing right there. He dumps it, loses a number of spots, and David, we get another look at it.
Well, he's just got wheel spin. I was just about to point out that it's tough to get over this triple. When you come out of that corner, grab a handful of throttle, you just get wheel spin. He didn't get the drive he needed, and he tried to pull that off, and pretty big impact. That's going to drop him quite a few positions.
Doesn't look like it bothered him physically, but it had to hurt him mentally. And look at Larocco. Remember, a little bit earlier, we were wondering where he was. Well, he has caught up with Jeff Emig, and he looks like he wants to make a charge. Oh, and look, oh, that's Todd DeHoop, the Honda Troy rider. Remember, we saw him limping after he dropped the bike in Moto number 1, and this time, David, it looks like it's a little more serious.
You don't like to see it. That's one of the officials seeing if he's okay. That's how I can't tell which section of the racetrack this is, but the way the bike's pointed, I don't think that was too pretty. And it's not a good day for DeHoop.
It looks like he's in a lot of pain lying down there, and I think he's just decided, I don't think I'm going to get up and try and get started again. But there is Jeff Emig. John Dowd is out front right now, and Emig in the second place. Third place is Larocco. Emig has his sights set on the front. McGrath, remember, was running back in the 6th position. And let's look back now back to 4th. You've got Larry Ward is now putting a charge on Larocco.
As Larocco came around that corner behind the trees there, he wasn't able to do the double jump, and that's what allowed Larry to get so close.
Well, we are in the mid stages of Moto number 2, so let's take a quick break right here. Thank you, David. There's a look at 3rd place, Mike Larocco, and look, 4th place, Larry Ward on the Nolene Sizzler Yamaha has caught up to him, and you know, we haven't heard that much about Larry. As I said in the first moto, he hasn't had that great an outdoor season, but he's coming on strong today.
He looks pretty, you know, the first moto I thought he had a golden opportunity to put in a good finish, get a little confidence back, and hopefully get the ball rolling right there to the inside of Larocco.
Oh, but Larocco holds him off at the time being, but look at Larry Ward. He's getting some of that Supercross magic that he had for the the indoor season this year back in his veins, but Larocco still hanging on to the third spot, but Larry Ward is putting on a challenge. Is Larry one of the good riders in the mud, David?
I think so. Larry doesn't really have a weakness. I don't think of Larry, not doing well in the sand or the mud. He rides pretty good everywhere, and the first moto he had a golden opportunity and just kind of let it slip away. He must have had problems with his arms pumping up, but here he looks pretty comfortable.
Right now he's trying to chase down Larocco. Dowd is your leader as you take a look at the top 10 on the Honda Field Summary. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and John Kernan welcomes you back to Kenworthy Motocross Park, Troy, Ohio. And things are starting to heat up as Jeff Emig has caught John Dowd, and that will be a battle for the lead momentarily, it looks like.
Well, this is where, if Yamaha plays it smart, they can get Dowd out of the way and let Emig pick up some valuable points.
Well, Dowd is leading it. Let's check into his pits with Art Ekman.
Brian, you know what they're going to say if he wins it? He just turned on the water faucet again to get his mud conditions.
Well, actually, this rain is just the amount of sweat I've had today. I've sweated so much, it's come down in the form of rain now, so.
By changing that gear real fast for practice, did you make any changes for this moto, though, with the 125s getting a little bit of rain?
Well, to tell you the truth, when I was putting on hard pack tires for the second moto, but when the skies opened up, I put back the exact same tires I ran in the first moto. But I think the conditions are more suited for those tires now than they were actually for that moto, so hopefully we'll be right on.
Good luck, Brian.
Sometimes you make those decisions and they pay off for you.
Yeah, well, I think John could just, if he could run mud tires and have rain every week, he might be our 250 national champion already. He might have it wrapped up. This guy goes fast in the mud.
Right now, he is trying to go faster than his Yamaha teammate, Jeff Emig. There's about 1.5 seconds to 2 second separation between these two riders. Still plenty of time for Emig to get around. And Emig with the second place finish, if he can win the moto, he could come away with the overall victory. And he could pick up a lot of points on McGrath.
Right, Jeremy's still back. He's not even in the screen yet. And if you listen to John Dowd when he comes by, he doesn't run the throttle wide open. He tends to run like a gear taller. He slips the clutch a little bit more, and he's just a lot easier with delivering that power to the ground. That's how you've got to ride on this slick stuff.
I was going to ask you, you ride the clutch quite a bit in the turns, don't you? You feather the throttle pretty much?
Right. You make your own power band. You'll hear these guys, they rev it up and get a lot of wheel spin, where John Dowd just sort of delivers that power. Doesn't sound like he's going as fast, but he is.
Well, look at that. While we're talking about that, Larocco gets around Jeff Emig, knocks Emig back a spot all the way to the third spot.
And he was reaching over his shoulder.
Look at that. Emig just squirts back around. Larocco back out in front, and now the fans have a little something to cheer for, but Emig is slowing down, it looks like.
Well, he just lost his timing through the whoops right there. He tried to make a pass, but he gave up his own line and gave up that rhythm that you need through that whoop section. Larocco just went wide and left the door wide open, but he knew that Emig probably wouldn't be able to stop in his line, and it worked out perfect. He was able to square right back under him, and he's pretty close to John right here.
Well, Larocco going around the outside. Look at him use that berm up as he tries to get a charge on John Dowd. He is just trying every possible line out there on the track, and hey, there he is. He swept back in and is now trying to chase him down. Larocco may have a good shot at knocking off Dowd and taking the victory here in Moto number 2. Time now for this week's Suzuki Flashback. We hop on the time machine and ride back to last summer, Troy, Ohio, 1994. And on the takeoff, on his farewell tour number 5, Jeff Stanton would get off to a great start.
This is the second moto we're looking at. Jeremy McGrath already won the first moto. That's his first ever 250 national win. There he is right there, moving past Kyle Lewis.
But a lot of attention focused on Stanton, although Jeremy making a charge as Skip Norfolk looked on hoping they could pull off their first outdoor overall victory. But the battle would come down to Larocco, who finished third in the first moto as he chased down McGrath at the point.
Jeff Stanton was leading the race, and if he could have held off the charging Mike Larocco, that would have given the overall to Jeremy McGrath.
But Larocco wins moto number 2 and wins the overall by virtue of the tiebreaker. Meanwhile, back out front, you've got John Dowd still leading it. Larocco, no, well, hey, I spoke too soon. Look at Larocco scoot around John Dowd, and Jeff Emig has kind of dropped back a little bit. And now Larocco, as we near the second half of moto number 2, the kind of shape that you got to believe he's in right now. This is his time to shine.
Well, he says he's not 100%. Remember, he broke his wrist, but when he was involved with that battle with Larry Ward, he flew off a jump and landed, so he's got to have a lot more confidence in it now.
Well, Larocco has to be confident. He's out front, and Art Ekman is down in his pits.
Mike has just taken the lead. A tremendous effort under these slippery conditions.
Yeah, it is. That was a gutsy pass. It's pretty slick there, but it's good.
You talk about gutsy passes, though. When he moved into second place here, this late braking pass after the straightaway in front of the pits.
He's got a lot of guts. He gets it from me.
I'm not going to touch that, David, nor would I want to.
Me either. His son's fast. There's no question about that.
Has a lot of guts. He's out in front right now. John Dowd is there in second place. And in third, Jeff Emig, who I thought had dropped back a little bit, has picked things back up. And look at Jeremy McGrath has moved into fourth. As you take a look at our Honda field summary, back with the finish after this. We are in the closing stages of Moto number 2. Jeremy McGrath trying to make the charge. Remember, he won Moto number 1. He's looking at the overall, I should say, but right now he's looking at Jeff Emig, trying to get a position away from him to pick up some points.
And what a great battle right there, going to the inside. Jeremy is sharp. He comes off the double jumps. Looks like he's going to pass both these guys.
Look at that. As he gets around John Dowd and Jeff Emig, and now Dowd is going to, he looks over his shoulder. He has to go outside and let Emig come back in to try and catch McGrath and get back around and pick up a couple of points.
Well, that was an awesome move by Jeremy, and as I started to say, when he comes off these doubles and triples, he times the bike so perfect. He lands on the downside. He's able to get to the inside berm, and he made the pass on Emig, and then went to the inside of Dowd, made that pass stick, and still had his timing through the whoop section. And there's not very many guys on the circuit that can do that.
Well, Jeremy McGrath, well, let's take another look at it right here.
Yeah, you see Jeremy, they just come off a triple jump, and Emig went wide. Jeremy squirts around the inside, makes the pass. Now Dowd's going out wide to get a run at this triple, which he only can double. Jeremy doubles it by taking the inside. Then he triples through here and puts some distance on these guys. So Jeremy just a little bit outclassing these guys through that Supercross stuff.
Well, we are on the final lap. The white flag has been waved, and Larry Ward is now hot on John Dowd trying to take that spot. Ward, a great ride here in this second moto.
I think he needs one to redeem himself from that first moto. I'd be pretty bummed if I dropped that far back after running second in the early going. So I'm just going to have to assume he had some problems with his arms, and I've had my arms pumped up before, and you can't even barely ride. It's hard to work the clutch and the throttle and everything when you have it like that. And to just avoid crashing, you just slow your pace a little bit. And in the process, he had a lot of guys lined up waiting to pass him, and unfortunately it happened.
Well, we are on the last lap, so now is not the time to slow down your pace. Ward, I thought for a minute there he was going to get a run on that section and try and out-jump Dowd, but he thought better of it. Meanwhile, up front, McGrath has caught Mike Larocco. This is a battle for the victory. Man, wouldn't this be something McGrath can come from behind and pull this off? He fell earlier in this moto, remember, after getting out to a great start.
Well, now it looks to me like McGrath's doing to Larocco what Larocco did to McGrath last year, just about every race. McGrath would have the lead, and Larocco would charge through the pack from seemingly whatever kind of start he got and make the pass. And right here, Jeremy giving Mike Larocco a little dose of his own medicine.
Well, on this type of track today, as muddy as it was, as slick as it was, it's amazing that McGrath, after dropping the bike, winning Moto number 1, he drops the bike early in this moto. He has charged back. I'm quite impressed with that. He can ride on this stuff.
Well, he's doing good. I think he surprises himself and everyone else every week by just rising to the occasion and doing whatever it takes to hold on to that points lead and even add a few more points to it. And right here, he's still got Emig behind him, so it just looks better in the overall title.
Well, if Larocco does hang on to win, McGrath finishes second. Emig is now riding along in third spot. The way the points would stack up, it would go from a 13-point lead to an 18-point lead for Jeremy. Remember, he picked up 3 points in the first moto. Right now, 2 points separating he from Emig, but he's not going to give it up. He wants to add another 3 more points to that as he chases down Larocco, trying to pick up the victory. But can he do it? Time's running out.
Well, as we pointed out before, Larocco doesn't really figure into the overall points chase, and if Jeremy can make this pass, and he knows that's why he's trying so hard, try to put a few more points on Emig. This whole series could come down to 2 or 3 points going into the final moto, and this pass right here could make the difference.
but I don't think he's going to have the time to do it. In fact, McGrath coming out of the last turn. No, there's the checkered flag is out. It weighs for Larocco, who takes the victory. McGrath comes along with that second place finish, and Emig is third. John Dowd, a fine run for him as he comes home in the fourth spot, and Larry Ward is on the top 5. Good for you, Larry. And as you take a look at the rest of the top 10, Damon Bradshaw in 7th. Art Ekman is with Jeff Emig.
I don't see how anybody stands it in this heat. I've been trying to stand out, cover this race in the heat, and I'm overboiled. Jeff, I know you're frustrated. Does it look like a lost opportunity to you at this moment?
Yeah, it does a little. I just didn't have the juice today. I don't know what my deal was, but I just wasn't full of a lot of energy, you know?
Well, I can see why. It was a brutal day to race.
It was brutal, but it turned out to be some great action. Jeremy McGrath coming away with the overall victory. Larocco is second. Emig dropping some points. He is down to third, followed by John Dowd. And as you take a look at the rest of the top 10 in the overall, here's Art.
Mike, first of all, congratulations on a great endurance race under these conditions. About the pass on Emig, you had a lot of speed coming down the pit area, the straightaway, and all of a sudden you refused to brake, it seemed like. You cut right in front of him, a great gutsy pass.
Yeah, you know, Jeff doesn't do me any favors, so I thought I'd, you know, take advantage of the move. You know, I had a lot of speed coming on him, and he brakes kind of early, so I just left it on and, you know, got the leverage and, you know, took him out to the berm and made the pass.
Well, Jeremy McGrath is grateful, I know that. And speaking about Jeremy, when it counted, you reached back. Where did it come from? I mean, you pulled away when it counted.
Yeah, I made a mistake, actually, you know, a few times there, and I let him get close, but, you know, I was leading, and I wasn't about to let that, you know, get taken away from me, so I just, you know, dug deep, and, you know, I just gave what I had.
Well, I'll let you go back and cool off more.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Art. Here's the way the points stack up now after 7 events. McGrath leading Emig in the championship hunt by 18. Here's Art.
One of the highlights of that second moto, Jeremy, was that 2-rider pass. That was incredible.
Well, I think I surprised them. I passed the John Dowd and Jeff Emig in about 150 feet, and I think both of them, you know, they just got caught off guard. And I was coming on strong and getting used to the track and just used my moves to get by them. And, you know, it took a little bit of good luck, too.
Congratulations on another overall victory. After crashing, what went through your mind to get back up? And this slippery track at the time is a hard catch-up track.
Well, in the beginning, I was having a little bit of trouble. And as you know, I was leading the race and fell. And then got back up and just tried to get used to it. And then after that, I started making my moves and catching up and being aggressive. And you know, it worked out for me.
Well, I remember last year saying that if Jeremy couldn't win outdoors, it wasn't by lack of speed and talent, it was his physical fitness. Right now, he looks pretty tired, but when you win an overall, you can tolerate almost anything.
Well, Jeremy McGrath, the overall victor, adds to his points lead for Art Ekman and David Bailey. I'm John Kernan. See you next time from Unadilla.